Welcome to another Sounds of ERA podcast. My name is Edward Johnson, a.k.a. Eddie, and I'm the president of InfoEd International. I'm here today with Hilda Alajajian. She is from the University of Vermont, and she is a grants resources specialist. And she's been there for about 11 years. Hello, Hilda.
Hi, Eddie. Good to talk with you today.
Now, what do you do with seeking out state and local funding? Because we've been talking about kind of broad-based funding that largely comes from the federal government and in many cases, of course, non-federal sponsors, who in most cases, at least for the U.S. ones, do not discriminate. But there's obviously a lot of money in your area, and you, of course, being in Vermont and other regional money. How do you go after that money? How do you find it? Do you find the databases useful for those kinds of things?
Well, there is some state funding listed in the big databases, the subscription ones. At least for Vermont, where we're located, we have some good resources that are databases for Vermont-focused projects. The particular one I'm thinking of is the Vermont Directory of Foundations Online. And that's a really good source for external sponsors from within the state, but as well as sponsors outside of Vermont that like to fund Vermont-focused projects. I think there's probably, in many states, community foundations that are geographically specific to that state, where you will find good resources for state opportunities. As far as state government opportunities, again, there's not that many in the subscription databases, the big ones. There are some. I find, at least here at UVM, that the ones that are most successful in getting state funding are ones that have connections with the various state agencies and become familiar with what their missions are and where their needs are and what kind of funding that they might have. So it's a little bit more of an effort to find the state funding. You need to do a little more networking. You have to really sort of find your way a little bit independent of the databases.
Now, do you go after international money? There's obviously, the world is shrinking, I think, in many respects, and we know we monitor a lot of the nations, certainly outside of the U.S., that are seeking funding from U.S. sponsors. A lot of the clients that we deal with overseas, some of them can get as much as 8 to 10% of their funding from U.S. federal sponsors. Do you find or do you look or seek out funding that isn't U.S. domestic?
Well, I could say that we don't eliminate it. I mean, I don't know as far as individual investigators or even the university as a whole, if they actually sort of seek out specifically international funding. We aren't set up to say that we can't get it if we want. So usually when investigators are setting up their search criteria, they don't do it by sponsor type, so they allow international opportunities as well as U.S. opportunities. So I don't think it's a matter necessarily that we're seeking it, but that we don't exclude it either. That we're open to wherever the sources may come from, for the most part, at least as an institution.
This has been fantastic, Hilda. I hope you're willing to do another one of these if time permits, or there's things that are topical. So thanks again. This is fantastic.
All right, Eddie. Thanks for asking.